Wallah. All right. All right, in the name of the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. Always good to be here, guys. Miss all your wonderful faces. And so we have a challenging topic to discuss by God tonight. And it's not like one of those topics where it's one of these like happy-go-lucky, ding-a-ding-along, let's just talk about, one of those church topics, whatever, Ding-a-ding is a technical term in theology. So, but we want to talk about a reality, a fact of your walk with Christ, of my walk with Christ. And it's very easy to ignore this. It's very easy to just kind of give up on trying to understand it. It's very easy to just kind of go on with life, keep walking, just do whatever you normally do, and not actually grow, right? Our goal in our relationship with God, in our life here on earth, as we're called sojourners. We're just traveling here. We're aliens. We have a citizenship in heaven, right? Our goal in all of this is to grow closer to Christ, to live in His kingdom now. We want to live with Christ in His kingdom now, okay? So in that journey, in that walk with Christ, in that effort, there are going to be challenges. So we're going to talk about spiritual warfare, and I have to give lots of credit to our late Father Pope Shenouda III, because I used his book a lot in Diabolic Wars for some of this information. All right, but the first thing I want to do is I want to prove to you that the devil exists, right? And that you're trying to go through your relationship with God, to grow closer to Him, to be better, to all this nice stuff. And there is bad things against you, right? You're not just like whenever you fall into sin, whenever you're struggling, whenever you're really, really, really down, whenever you're like failing in your spiritual life, you can't just say, oh, that's just it, like that's it. I want you to know that there are strong forces against you. And you can go through life ignoring them, or you can learn more about them so that you can learn more about yourself and your relationship with God. Just some verses here. In Ephesians, St. Paul says, chapter 6, verses 10 to 13, "Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of His might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil." I don't know what wiles means. Maybe I should just use this iPad thing here. Define. Wiles means devious or cunning stratagems employed in manipulating or persuading someone wants. In other words, the devil is manipulating you. The devil wants to mess with you, right? "For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood." If you look at the person who's trying to make you fall into sin, sometimes it's not that person that's really your worst enemy. We wrestle against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. Can anybody tell me, where do you hear the word principalities and powers? Has anybody ever heard those words before as like nouns? What are they? Has anybody heard those terms before? Non-rhetorical question. Has anybody heard those principalities? Liturgy, right? We say in the liturgy, we say, before whom stand the angels, the archangels, the principalities, the authorities, the thrones, the dominions, and the powers. What we're going to talk about today is that actually the devil, Satan, was a cherub. So when we read, let's just go through this in some detail. We're going to keep going back to this. In the liturgy, we mention 9 ranks of angels, all right? We say angels, the principalities, authorities, the thrones, the dominions, and the powers, right? So we say before whom you are here, before whom stand the angels, archangels, blah, 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 7 of them, right? And then the deacon says, look towards the east. And then the priest says, before you are he, around whom stand, you are he around whom stand the cherubim full of eyes and the seraphim with 6 wings, right? So that's 7 ranks, plus you are here around whom stand the cherubim and the seraphim. We know from Isaiah 14 that Lucifer was a cherub, right? The ranks are kind of like going up, like in order, right? Angels, archangels, right? And the cherubim and the seraphim. Lucifer was a cherub. And a cherub is a singular for cherubim, right? So Lucifer was a cherub, and it says in Matthew, Jesus says that he saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven, right? He says that. So, and we're going to get to later that in the Gospels, Jesus said that hell is reserved for the devil and his angels, right? Are you guys starting to make a connection? We talk about lots of wonderful angels, thrones, dominions, and the powers that are in heaven, that are worshiping and praising God, that are helping, right? At the same time, when Lucifer fell, he also took down some angels with him, principalities and powers and rulers of the darkness of this age, right? These are the demons, right? These are the forces that are against you. You think I'm talking like Harry Potter stuff, right? No, I'm talking about Jesus. God said talk to us about this stuff, right? Like, you are not just some, piece of dirt that was just kind of put together, or like some, evolutionary thing happened and poof, now you exist. And you're just going to go through life and die and rot in earth and that's it. You are a spiritual being. Spiritual beings have to do with spiritual things. What are those spiritual things? There's angels. There's heaven, right? There's growing in your walk with Christ, right? Right now, you're looking at me. I'm looking at you. We're looking at flesh, right? I look at you. I see hair. I see skin. I see clothes. I see all these things. But we participate in so many spiritual things in life. Think about the sacraments. We know. We look with our eyes, bread and wine. We know body and blood. We look at a couple getting married. We see one person, 2 person. We know one flesh, right? This is what it means to be a human being. The problem is we limit our life, our look at life in general, to just saying, oh, I just got tired, so I slept. And then I woke up and I'm hungry, so I eat. And then somebody called me, so I answer and I have a conversation. And that's my life, And I go to church. They tell me to do this prayer thing. What that means for me is just to make a mental effort of closing my eyes and focusing and just expressing some needs, right? That's what prayer is, just this human thing. But we don't realize that I am a spiritual being as much as I'm a physical being, an emotional being, all these AL beings, right? Okay? All right. So, we said in Ephesians, St. Paul says that you are not fighting just flesh and blood, but you're fighting against essentially heavenly ranks, but not in heaven. They fell from heaven. Okay? All right. In 1 Peter 5, 8-9, St. Peter says, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. Resist him, steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same sufferings are experienced by your brotherhood in the world. In other words, we already said you're fighting angels. We said you're fighting the devil himself. And now think about the work of the devil, right? The devil is a spirit. The devil doesn't get tired. The devil is seeking whom he may devour. And we're going to get to another verse from the book of Job. But so you're kind of just going through life, and the devil and the demons are seeking whom they may devour. It's an effort they're making. They're active in doing this, right? It's not as simple as these are the demons, guys. Everybody look at the demons and just look at them. They're there, right? And we just go on with life. No, they're probably God bless us. I hope they're not here, right? But they could be like around you, right? You could be having a conversation with someone, and the devil is there trying to mess with you, right? We're going to talk about like how frequently that happens, by the way. But my point right now is that this is real. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm not saying how frequent it is, right? Okay. We also know that Satan tempted Job, like just flat out. He tempted Job. And we also know that Satan even tempted Jesus Christ himself, right? Like Jesus, who is God, who's perfect, is not immune to temptation. Because when he emptied himself and took flesh, he allowed himself to deal with temptation, right? Because before, when you're not in the flesh, you don't really Like he's God. Like he's a spirit bigger than any other spirit, right? He's not even, you can't even say like bigger. Like it's not even, you can't use words like that, right? All right. Does anybody have any questions or wants any more information about the fact that the devil exists and that there are evil spirits? I don't mean to scare you, by the way, because we're going to talk about why you should not be scared, right? But does anybody have any questions about that? Okay. If you ask me a question, you're going to let me slow down so I can drink some of this drink because I really want to. No. All right. We also said, I just want to answer this question too, that is it just one devil? And it's not just the devil, right? There are demons, right? Okay. And again, guys, just please, when I say demons, forget about this imagery that we see in the movies. You don't need to have images, right? The devil can come in any form. It could be anything, right? It could just be a thought without even anything like that, right? Just think about evil forces, okay, that are out there. All right. Now, although the demons do attack us, not all of us are being attacked by demons, okay? So now I told you the demons exist. This is real. But now I want you to develop some discernment. And I want you, there was a story that Abu Antonius told us about a question that somebody submitted to the Pope. So somebody submitted to the Pope a question and said, Sayyidina, the devil is attacking me with thoughts of pride, right? And then the Pope looks at this question, and he doesn't know who the guy is, probably not, but he says, who are you? He says, who do you think you are, pretty much? Are you some really holy person, performing miracles, going around, are you fasting all the time and praying all the time and engaged in so many spiritual struggles and everything? You're nobody, right? The devil probably doesn't even know your name, right? You're nobody. So the point that the Pope was trying to make is that not every struggle we have in our lives is from the devil. And we have a verse for that. James 1:12. A lot of the stuff, guys, is really amazing when you start to put these verses that you're not usually kind of connect to this topic, but when you start looking at them, you're like, whoa, I read this verse all the time, but it really helps me to understand this. Blessed is the man who endures temptation, for when he has been approved, he will receive the crown of life, which the Lord has promised to those who love him. Let no one say when he is tempted, I am tempted by God. So he's just trying to say, listen, guys, plain and simple, God doesn't tempt anyone. For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he himself tempt anyone. But, and this is where we're going to get a little nibble of or piece of information. Each one is tempted when he is drawn away by his own desires and enticed. Then when desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, brings forth death. Do not be deceived, my beloved brethren. So, I told you the devil exists, but now I'm telling you that every spiritual struggle you have in your life is not always coming from the devil. Is that clear? All right. So now I want to tell you that there are three kinds of people when it comes to spiritual warfare. All right? Number one, we're going to kind of talk to them, we're going to go with them in ascending order in terms of likeliness to be tempted by the devil, okay, or to struggle with the devil. There are people who just go on with life. I hope none of us fall into this category. Nothing is happening with them. There's no purpose. They just kind of wake up. I always like to remind myself that if I had no purpose, I could still be active in life, right? I could still just wake up. I need to eat, so I need to make money so I could buy food. So I could just wake up and my alarm stimulated me somehow. Boom, I woke up and now I go to the shower, I go to work. If I don't get there on time, my manager yells at me, right? And then I just work and money comes in and I buy food and I eat. And maybe every once in a while somebody texts me and says, hey, do you want to hang out? Or I text someone and I see people, I hang out. And I just go back to sleep, right? So I can just be going nowhere in life, but be active. I could be active, right? I'm not necessarily going in a certain direction, nothing, right? No purpose, no fighting. No growth. This is the point. That I can be alive, be going nowhere in life. Forget about devil. There's no devil needed. I'm messing my own life up, right? I'm going nowhere. There's no reason to get into any details about what the devil wants to do with me. If the devil looks at me, he's leave him alone. I'm going to go find the guy who's really trying to grow in their spiritual life. This guy's going nowhere, right? So some people, none of us, fall into this category of just no growth, no fighting, no devil, right? All right. The second category of people, there's only three, is those who are tempted by their own desires. This is very like, I can give you so many examples, right? But for example, a young man or young woman who is tempted like with lustful thoughts, or maybe not tempted with lustful thoughts, actually, they're just kind of typical example. You're walking down the street or you're in the subway and it's summertime. Everybody's like half naked, just kidding. That's an exaggeration. But people aren't dressed so much and you're kind of walking, you're in the subway and you just turn your head because you need to leave the subway car to get to your destination. Right in front of you is someone who you think is very attractive, right? You didn't like look to find attractive people and like stare at them, right? But the door just opened. It just happened, right? That person didn't say, oh, I wonder what I'm going to wear today because I have to go tempt people, right? Nobody said that, right? You didn't wake up in the morning and say, I really, really hope that when the subway car opens, there's a temptress there, right? You didn't say that, right? But the door opened and right in front of your face is something that could tempt you, right? Now, you have a decision to make. Did the devil put this person there? Not necessarily. Did the devil put you there? You're just going to work, bro, right? Did the devil tell the conductor of the train to open the door at that specific time or not to get delayed or to get delayed or anything? No, there's no devil here, right? You have your own desires and because you're not a perfect creature, because you're weak, you allowed something to make you fall, right? This is the second group of people. The first group, they don't care, right? They're not going anywhere, right? Ain't nobody tempting them nothing, right? Like they just do whatever they want. Like they're not going anywhere. Forget temptation, right? They're just in a fallen life, right? The second group of people are people who they allow, like certain life circumstances happen, or they can choose a bad thought, or they can dwell on something. Maybe it's greed, maybe it's selfishness, maybe it's lust, maybe it's despair, or maybe it's just negativity. Some people are just negative all the time. Choose happiness, guys. Choose joy. But in any case, that's not the point. But some people are just like that, right? Or they just they make bad decisions. So you're tempted by your own desires. Just to be very clear about this point, I just want to acknowledge this fact because we spent some time talking about the devil. I want to spend some time talking about us, right? So us as human beings, we are not in our final state, okay? We know that in the resurrection, we're going to have transformed bodies. Our bodies are going to be different. There's not going to be any more weeping, tears. There won't be sadness. It will just be joy, light, things the eye has not seen, ear has not heard. In heaven, there is no struggle, right? But right now, our bodies, we're even if we don't want to, we've experienced sin so much, right? Maybe we're just the world is a fallen place. Families are imperfect. Cultures are imperfect. Church communities are imperfect. People, countries, governments, me, you are imperfect, right? Even if you're making a decision now not to sin, you've already experienced so much sin. It's hard. You have to struggle. Everything is possible, but it's hard to just kind of break free from this, right? So what that means is that you're kind of fighting an uphill battle for the rest of your life. You can do two things with this information. You can say, oh, well, my life is over. That's it. Why am I even trying if I'm fighting an uphill battle? Or you can realize that through this uphill battle, you come closer and closer to Christ. You go from glory to glory. You're perfected more and more. Is this resonating with you guys? Does this make sense? Or is anybody here bored or want me to talk about something else? I can't really change the subject, so I don't care. But no, I can. We could try. All right. But in any case, so people who are tempted by their own desires, they're stuck in these cycles, right? For example, this is not the time for it. We'll spend another time being more focused on this. But an easy one, let's just try to pick some things we can relate to. We'll pick something for guys, we'll pick something for girls. So for guys, and I don't mean to, everybody struggles with all sins, but just things that are more common, like pornography, for example. You don't need the devil, sometimes, you don't need the devil to give you a lustful thought. You could just be stuck in an addiction. You could just be in that all the time. Women, you could be stuck in this continuous feeling of there's something wrong with my body and not like glorifying God in the way your body is, like feeling or believing or accepting that you're not beautiful, right? Or that there's something wrong with you, or or comparing, right? So we could be stuck in our own desires of fallenness. You guys get what I'm trying to say? You guys with me? All right. So this second category of people are just stuck repeating the same cycle over and over and over again, right? That's the second category. Third category is people who are actually tempted by the devil, right? And all these things can happen in one person. But what I'm trying to tell you is not everything that happens in your life is coming from the devil. Some of it is just coming from you. The reason why this matters is because if you're struggling with something, you need to know where to focus the resolution, right? The efforts to resolve, the remediation, okay? All right. But the correlation is, this is the correlation of these three things, is that the more you're on a growth track, the more likely you will be attacked by your own desires and the devil. If you don't care about life, your desires aren't even attacking you. You're just kind of going with your desires, right? If you're trying to grow, you're going to start to fight. You're going to find your desires working against you because you're trying to grow beyond your natural state, right? And then, as you're growing, the devil's going to come and get you because the devil is seeking whom he may devour. The devil is making an active effort to mess you up. That's why in the book of Acts it says you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven without trials and tribulations. Because you're trying to, it's like growing pains, but spiritual growing pains. And the pains is not coming necessarily from you all the time. It could be coming from an evil force, right? All right. Now, so if you want to go somewhere in life, expect challenge from yourself or from Satan. And you can't avoid this. So, similar to what we read in 1 Peter 5 about the devil seeking whom he may devour, I wanted to read what I mentioned before in the book of Job. God asked the devil, it says, and the Lord said to Satan, from where do you come? So Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro on the earth and walking back and forth on it, right? This is like the account of how the devil like identified Job, right? And he said like, he's just walking like searching and he found Job. And Christ was tempted and David the prophet was tempted. So before we get into the section of how do I become victorious in my spiritual war, or in spiritual war, I just want to summarize this. So number one, we said that temptation is inevitable. Temptation is inevitable. Number two, we said it either comes from you or the devil, and we didn't spend so much time on this because it's a bit more basic, I think. It's or from another person, right? Like some people around you in your life are messing with you, all right? Okay, so it's important to know why you're facing a struggle. Is it because you messed up? Is a friend
I have a question.
Yes.
Whether temptation is coming from other people or from me, from my lust, or from the devil. Isn't the devil has a role even in the temptation that is coming from other people or from the lust?
No, because not necessarily. Because someone like in the same way I'm fallen and I can tempt myself, or like I have like passions. There's good passions, by the way. Every time we use the word passions, we think it's a bad thing. But I have good and bad passions. In the same way I have bad passions, someone else can have bad passions and they affect me. Like for example, if someone is jealous of me.
Bad behavior of the other person that's coming from whom? From the person?
Either the person or the devil. You don't know. There's value in trying to find out, like in each circumstance, but at the same time, like
and the one who's struggling with pornography, for example.
Yeah.
That's I understand that's his lust. But the lust that مش وراه the devil ولا?
Sometimes yes and sometimes no. Like for example, let me just say something. Were you going to answer or are you going to ask something?
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
I remember we were talking about in the last few meetings on Sunday how it's not just, well, it's not exactly what he said, but what he was leaning for is like, it's also a biological factor, like your brain. Sometimes you could be fixated on something. It's like the chemicals in your brain that literally just...
Dopamine.
Yeah, there are psychological and like chemical things. Of course. Of course.
Well, like that, like the point is like sometimes it's just in your nature to do it. It has nothing to do with the devil.
No, wait, let's just be careful.
No, I'm not saying
It's
that-
in your nature to have sexual desires. It's not like, and God created sexual desire.
Right.
Like, and he commanded it, right? And like he commanded sex. We're going to get to this another time in another talk, God willing. But using that energy, that sexual desire for fornication, lust, pornography, whatever, that's when you take something good and you do something bad with it.
I understand, but what I'm saying is like, at that point, it's just literally like something that's fixed in your brain.
Yeah, it's like,
That's
so,
not- that's the point of
yeah.
the movie.
So addictions, what happens with addictions is like there are these like pleasure centers in your brain, right? And once you activate them, like now it's like, imagine like, I'm trying to think of an easy example, but imagine like a metal pot or something, right? And you heat it up and you push it apart, right? So you push the walls apart. So now it's bigger. And when it cools down, now it has a greater capacity. So you're kind of doing that with your brain, that you're kind of teaching your brain, hey, there's this new pleasure experience, right? It happens with like heroin and cocaine and all drugs, right? So this is how addictions work. That you're conditioning your brain to have these new experiences that it naturally wouldn't have. And then now because you have this, you're exposed to it, now you want it. That's why addicts, like once you get addicted to something, you're always fighting that addiction, right? Like you're fighting it, it becomes much easier to fight over time, but you have the capacity to become addicted again, much more than someone who has never been addicted or been exposed to that thing. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is just to stay away from like a lot of the technicalities or like the details, is that if someone else, like if I struggling with pornography, then I can like engage in that sin again for many reasons. Like instant by instant. Like let's focus on an instant, right? Because so one, the devil could give me a thought, right? And I'm like I'm not equipped. I don't pray. I don't have anyone to hold me accountable. I'm not even trying, whatever, right? So the devil could have given me a thought and I make a decision to engage in that sin. Or I could be practicing idleness, right? And when I'm idle, I could just like think of anything, right? Like the thing I'm most familiar with. Like why do things just appear? Like why do we just thoughts come to our mind? Sometimes there are like things we're more familiar with, or things we like to do, or we're bored, or whatever, right? So it's not always that the devil gave me that lustful thought. Maybe I'm choosing a lustful thought. Sometimes people, like I'll speak from even my own experience. Sometimes if I'm bored and I have nothing to do, I can if I enjoy a sin, which sin is usually enjoyable, I look for it. I search for it myself. I don't need the devil to help me find that sin. I look for it myself, right? It's so not every issue or struggle in your life is coming from the devil, and also, by the way, there's just so many factors. And also if there are maybe this is not a good example. It's not an example I want to say, but maybe there's. The devil could be working in someone else, or someone else could be trying to take me down, right? There's just so much, it's a very basic thing that if there's a struggle in my life, it could be coming from the devil, myself, or a friend who's influenced by the devil or themselves. That's all. Is that okay? Is that clear for people? Or are you guys okay with that concept? Or okay, great. So. Great discussion, guys. So the more you proceed successfully in your spiritual life, the more likely it is you'll be attacked by the devil. All right. So how do I become victorious in spiritual war? How do I become victorious in spiritual war? Has everybody here, before I start listing this, has everybody here accepted? Maybe you haven't embraced it completely. That there is a spiritual war. That it's real, right? You can choose to ignore it, but the moment you try to rise up, you try to fix your life, you try to start praying, start fasting, end a friendship, right? guys, we see this all the time, right? There's people we wanna like lift them out of their life and just throw them into goodness, right? Like just get out of this. Like, are you crazy? Like I can tell you what you're about to say because you said it 1,000 times before, right? So there are people who live like this, right? We are like this sometimes. So has everybody embraced that there is a struggle, that there is a fight? Yes, good. All right, how do I become victorious? Number one is be humble. Be humble. What does that actually mean? I can't just tell you be humble and go to the next point, right? Be humble can be applied in two ways. Number one is accept your weakness and insufficiency. Please say to yourself, this, by the way, is one of the most powerful things you can do to the devil and you can do in your spiritual walk, is say, I am weak. I am insufficient. Right? I am weak. So, of course we know the story of St. Anthony. A demon came up to him and slapped him across a man who was possessed came up to St. Anthony and slapped him across the face. And he turned the other cheek. And once the possessed man, the demon and the possessed man saw St. Anthony's humility, he fled from the guy. Like he just left, he was exorcised by humility, right? Again, I'm not trying to tell you this so you can look for demons around you and turn the other cheek every time you see them or something, right? I'm telling you this because I want you to know that humility is it's a mountain. It's like something that you keep going up, and it's the closer you come to God, the more humble you become, and the more humble you become, the closer you become to God. Because the more you come closer to Him, the more you realize how inadequate you are alone, right? I will never be successful in spiritual war if I am proud. And Pope Shenouda gives a very nice example of a cycle, a typical temptation cycle that people go through. Somebody could be struggling with whatever it is, like greed or smoking or whatever it is, right? And the devil, the man tries to make an effort. He goes to his father's confession. He starts coming to church. And, he's really trying to fix his life up. And he has someone holding him accountable. He's texting someone every time he wants to, fall into sin or whatever. And then he's finally becoming victorious over this physical addiction, right? So what the devil decides to do, Pope Shenouda explains, is that the devil says, you know what? This guy's starting to be successful in this. We're going to try a new temptation. I'm going to stop tempting him altogether, right? So the devil stops tempting him for 2 or 3 years. And now this guy's becoming so victorious over this, he doesn't even, he looks at sin, he spits in the face of sin. He looks at demons and punches them in the face. And body slams them, right? So, but then, the man, now people are coming up to him and saying, hey, I'm struggling with this sin and blah, 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 blah. And now he's so puffed up. He's you're struggling with this? Please, I body slam demons in my sleep with my life tied behind my back, right? And you're struggling with smoking and whatever it is. And so what the devil ended up doing with this guy is he took his sin used to be just a physical addiction. Now he's suffering with pride in his spirit, right? Do you guys get what I'm saying? All right. So, but the person who is humble, who says, even if I'm victorious, I'm not victorious because I am strong, because of my own strength, but it's because the Lord is my strength, right? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, right? This is the humble person. The humble person can stand in front of a whole army of demons and they can't touch him because he's humble, right? Because it's the humble person who calls on the Lord. The person who's proud, the person who trusts in themselves, that's the person who doesn't call on the Lord. Because if somebody tells you, I always have to remind myself sometimes when I'm sitting at meetings out in work, I'm the more I do something, the better I am at it. I just gain skills and knowledge and experience. But sometimes I just have to tell myself, Makar, you're not in this meeting and having this conversation because you're some amazing person. Poof, you could just disappear, right? Anything can happen to you, right? There's a million smart people, right? You're not the only smart person. Even if you think you're smart, you're kind of dumb, for whatever reason, because there's smarter people than you. So you're already kind of dumb, right? So what I say is, God, like, please be present in this meeting. Be present in this conversation. Be here in this meeting room, right? Even now, I have notes. You don't have the notes. I know more about what I'm going to say than you do, right? But am I going to change your life? Can I change your heart? Can I convince you? No. We're all here as one of the, I don't remember, I think it's, I forgot the name because we're all imperfect, but he said we're all just beggars telling each other where to find bread, right? Like we're all just here just trying to benefit from God, right? So, and we do these things called meetings, and we ask someone to focus on like reading, studying something. And I go and I find some resources from someone else who was asked to prepare a talk, and I take their points and I put them in mine, and I put some of my stuff, and we all just have a conversation, and we ask good questions, and we have good conversation, and people contribute, right? Okay, so accept your weakness and insufficiency. Accept, the second application of be humble is accept the existence of enemies who are more capable than you. Remember that the demons are angels, right? They have superpowers. And that's true, right? They can. They're not hungry, they don't get hungry. They can like fly and stuff, right? They can like be everywhere. Like it's an angel. It's an actual angel with like angelic powers, right? Like think about the few stories we have in the Bible of like how much a guardian angel can protect someone. Of Michael the archangel fighting with someone, right? Of all these things. When the angels who were in heaven fell, they didn't lose their superpowers, right? They're powerful. Without God's help, I cannot defeat them. I can't. Even the littlest of demons, I cannot defeat without God's help. Is that clear? Okay. Okay, number 2 is do not fall into despair. How do I do that? 3 ways, or 2 things and a verse. Is remember the saints and your predecessors who have conquered the devil. Remember, all you have to do, guys, to gain some confidence, because it's very easy to say, the devil, I can't win, my life stinks, everything is bad, I'm too weak. Just say, well, if Saint Moses the Black, if Saint Mary of Egypt, if Saint Philophios of Philophia could do this stuff, right? If they could conquer the devil, I can conquer the devil. Because it's the same God who will help me. It's the same Spirit of God. I have a guardian angel. They have a guardian angel. We're going to body slam angels, right? No. Don't body slam angels. And I'm going to tell you, by the way, that like our goal is not, just because I want to be really serious too. Like it's fun to joke around, but just to be serious, like...
I have a question.
Yes.
When you
But I want to take your question, but just don't let me forget that I want to be serious about something. Yeah.
When you say Saint Moses the Black, is this not racist?
Oh, see Moses Ethiopian, I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, I'm just using the common term.
People in Egypt, but when I came here, it's racist.
Yeah. No, it's fine. Saint Moses, I think, is Ethiopian. Thank you for that. I should be more
Can I say
sensitive.
one?
Of course, yeah.
I just want to emphasize something you said, because sometimes you might take it the wrong way, or sometimes I take it the wrong way when you say accept your weakness.
Yeah.
We can't use that as an excuse. Oh, I'm weak. Just one more time. I'm never going to be this thing I'm struggling with. So just this last time, whatever it is, or it'll take a while. So yes, we're going to start repentance tomorrow. I'm weak. God doesn't really expect me to beat this thing tonight. And when you say accept your weakness, and you said it, but I just want to emphasize it for me, you have to accept that you are in a state of sickness, a state of needing God. And so the idea of humility is that I need help, and I need God's help. And so the first thing I need to do is draw close to Him and come to, just like if you're sick, you go to a doctor. If you feel pain, you do whatever it is to get rid of the pain. So the idea of humility is draw close to God, that you are a sinner. You accept you're a sinner. You beat your chest saying, God, I need you right now. Pray the Psalms. The idea, that's the humility that I think that you're getting at, right? Not just I'm weak and okay, so like...
Yeah, thank you.
Would you agree?
Of course, yeah, thank you. So that's a good reminder for me just to phrase that, or just be more complete about that thought. That's important. So do you guys get the point that accept my weakness doesn't mean just kind of accept it and just stay weak and non-fighting, right? Yeah.
It's not a green light.
Yeah, it's not like an excuse or justification for falling. Weakness is not justification for falling. It's an explanation for falling, but it's not a justification for falling. Does that make sense? Okay. So the serious point that I wanted to make is I don't want us to get all like Buffy the Vampire Slayer here and like start like killing demons, right? To be very simple, even using Jesus' words, right? Never did Jesus in the Bible, I'm sorry because I was just so joking around about this, but Jesus in the Bible never killed a demon. Did you ever notice that? He never like obliterated one out of existence. I'm not saying he can't, but the way we should think about dealing with struggles and temptation is get behind me, flee, resist. Like I'm not, my goal here isn't to like have a scoreboard of demons I'm killing, right? My goal is Christ. And if there's a demon in my way, get out of my way. Just resist, flee, get behind me, out of here, keep going, right? I don't get anything by beating demons up if I'm not getting closer to God, right? Actually, one of the Desert Fathers is telling a story, or there's a saying of his, where he went to an old man, and he asked the old man, like a brother asked the old man, I'm dealing with the devil and he's tempting me with XYZ, whatever. The old man said to him, resist the devil. Like, just flee. Like, if the bad thought comes to you, just try to keep yourself busy, forget about it, right? But the person who's telling the story, though, went to the same old man, and he asked him for advice, and the old man told him, fight the devil, right? So he said, fight the devil. So he said, why did you give different advice to this first person, and you're telling me to fight the devil, and this first person you're telling them to like flee from the devil? He said, because I know that you have a different strength than he does. This person doesn't have that much experience. So I'm telling him to just escape. I know you're gonna, and he will benefit, and you will benefit from fighting. So all I'm trying to say is let us not like overestimate our abilities. Let's be humble, right? If like I don't want us to be all, ambitious here in or like unserious or not serious about this. All right. So it says, in Luke, Jesus said,
One question.
Yes.
When you say flee the devil, do you mean flee sin? Or do you mean, what do you mean by flee the devil?
Yeah, so in simple terms, like the devil doesn't do anything else except try to get you to sin. That's it. This is a very simple point, by the way. Like, whenever we talk about devil, the reason why we talk about the devil is because the devil is going to make you sin, and the wages of sin is death, and sin is separation from God, and that messes with your eternal life. That's it. It's not. There's nothing more complicated about that. Like, it's not about the theology of demons and all that stuff. It's like, can I have 5 more minutes, guys? Is that okay? I'm sorry. I know we're over time. All right. So, just to go quickly, it says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. So do not despair, because God did not give you a spirit of fear." All right. Number 3, we have only 85 to go through. Is call the Lord with faith. With faith. Ask God to help you. Ask God to help you. If you're struggling with a sin, just say, "God, I need your help. I need you." Say it, right? "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me." Like, God, be here. God, help me. Stand here. Fight this fight. I'm going to lose. I'm falling right now. Help me, right? Sometimes one of the biggest deceptions of the devil is that he deceives you into thinking that you cannot call on the Lord, that you're not worthy to call on the Lord. If the devil tells you that, you should be like, duh, I'm not worthy to call on the Lord, but God makes me worthy because he gave me his Holy Spirit. He said, because of my Spirit, you can call me Abba Father. That's not, because I'm sinning doesn't make me no longer a child of God. I can always call on the Lord. It's free. It's not because I'm so great. It's because God offered that to me. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Okay. Number 4 is continue exercising your spiritual muscles. Of course, we don't I was talking to a friend, somebody attacked him. Like he was in a car with someone and that person just went at him, right? And he said, I don't know if this is true or not. What he said to me was, "Thank God I've been going to the gym for a long time lately." I don't know what he said. But he just said, "Thank God I've been going to the gym because I was able to defend myself." I was like, all right, that's cool. I don't even know what's true or not true. But the point he's trying to make is that because he's been working out, because he's been exercising, he's more equipped to deal with an attack, right? That's the point he's trying to make. So he's not like, just to get to the point, like you have to be prepared for fights. You have to be ready. Like if you know that you struggle with selfishness, be ready with that. Be ready for that by giving in advance of being selfish. You know, sharing before you even have the opportunity to be selfish. Every time you get something, give something away. If you struggle with cursing, and you curse when you're angry, or you curse when you feel small emotionally, so you curse to feel strong or to look strong. Tell yourself, in these types of situations, I feel small. In these types of situations, I get angry. Be prepared. Equip yourself, right? Learn the verses that are related to your struggle. Use them. Okay. So, and Jesus is so clear about this. There was a very strong demon, or a man who was possessed by I think it was many demons or one demon. But the disciples, they couldn't cast him out, even though they could cast out many others. And they asked Jesus, why couldn't we cast him out? He said, this kind, he's talking about this strong kind, cannot come out by anything except by prayer and fasting. In other words, pray and fast, right? If you want to overcome your struggles, pray and fast. Read the Word of God. Take communion. No one who is, just in an extreme example, no one who's possessed by a devil can approach communion, right? Like, think of that as one end of the spectrum. But as you think of yourself somewhere far away from that, like if you continue to nurture yourself spiritually in the body and blood of Christ, you can have power to conquer the devil and any thing. Very simply, of course, the next one is fight against sin. Very simply, guys, what does it mean to fight against sin? Just try not to do it. That's it, right? It doesn't need to be complicated. Just try not to do it.
I would add, don't put yourself in a situation where you can put it.
Yeah. Like in your trying, like the trying part of not doing it is that you have to think about how you fall and all that. Like there's a pattern. Usually there's a pattern of falling. Go to confession and seek guidance. If you talk, your father of confession is going to help you identify the root of these things. The last two is be watchful. Learn to identify sin. Like I want you guys, and I need to say this to myself always, is know when you're about to sin or there's something that normally makes you fall and catch yourself. Don't let the thoughts fester in your mind. Jealousy, negativity, hatred, lust, whatever it is, right? And lastly, keep your eyes fixed on Christ and his kingdom. Don't lose, it's very easy to kind of think that, especially because our culture has a weakness of being very legalistic. And we think that, you follow these things, you don't commit these things, you do those things, you're good, right? But I don't want you to, we shouldn't think about Christianity that way. Christianity is a relationship. And the reason why we don't want to sin, the reason why we're even in this battle, is so that we can go closer to Christ and live his kingdom here, right? Wherever he is, that's where his kingdom is. I just want to give you two verses to help us, to encourage us. No temptation has overtaken you except such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able. Any temptation, you are able to overcome it. But with the temptation will also make the way of escape. Every temptation you are able, and every temptation there is a way of escape, that you may be able to bear it. And that's 1 Corinthians 10:13. And the last verse is, but may the God of all grace, who called us to his eternal glory by Christ Jesus, after you have suffered a while, perfect, establish, strengthen, and settle you. To him be the glory and dominion forever and ever. Amen. In other words, every struggle can turn out to be a benefit for you. It can perfect, establish, strengthen, and settle. Any questions? Okay, glory be to God forever.
Thank you, Mar. Have a couple of announcements. First one.